Jamil, how's it going?
I'm amazing, man. Thanks for having me on here, Teddy.
Of course, of course. Well, welcome to the Wanting Less podcast show, whatever the hell this thing is that I've created. And for those that don't know you
Mm,
and how we met, I always want to start off with context. I think that's important. But I think it's a testament to kind of who you are and kind of what you bring to the table. And we met because you sent me a LinkedIn message
right.
about developing kind of like a little sides income stream and that sort of thing. And then I told you, I was like, to be honest, like that sounds awesome. However, I've got this other thing going on the side that's taking up all of my free time, and I really want to build that and blah blah blah. And you mentioned, you thought that was a neat thing, and we basically got to here, which is let's talk about what you originally were going to talk about, and send over my way and tell me about, and here we are. So we turned that a bit, basically a LinkedIn message into a connection in a podcast episode, and
Yes, absolutely.
awesome, awesome. Well, I want you to tell your story. Here's what I know so far, and I want you to expand on that while we can. Okay.
Okay.
So my understanding is your credentials are that you're the CEO and content developer for a company called SBS Global.
Yes.
You're the owner of Augment DGTL.
Yes. Augment Digital.
Okay. What the hell are those things?
Awesome. Okay. So great question. So first off, it's not more so the company, but more so a brand, if you will, when it comes to struggle before success. Like I said, when I was we had this conversation prior, and I initially told you that the main basis as to how struggle before success really started was because I was probably just like a lot of other individuals out in the world. You're in school, okay? You want to do so many things with your life, but initially, you don't have the time to do so. So that was just my personal story. I was always in school, doing the next best thing concerning my education, taking anywhere between 18 to 21 credits. And I believe the biggest thing that I found out of that was, I was definitely excelling in my grades, but the the backlash of that was the financial hit, and that was just me depending a lot on my parents for a lot of things, for food, for transportation, for numerous amounts of things. And at some point I appreciated them for it, like I said, but at some point I wanted to do something different that really just more so geared towards giving back to them what they essentially gave to me. So knowing that, me and a group of individuals, we basically co-founded this brand called the Struggle Before Success. And initially it was something that was geared towards us individuals having the same mindset. Okay, we're struggling right now, but there's no success without a struggle first. So
Mm-hmm.
knowing that, we had this mindset that we were going to make something out of our lives. We didn't know what it was at this point,
Mm-hmm.
but we knew we just wanted to do something. And then at some point, it just started in Maryland, and then it expounded into multiple, numerous amounts of states. We actually just finished acquiring one of our first members in the United Kingdom and Canada this week,
Wow.
which is actually very crazy. So it's definitely big ups. But the primary reason why that actually got started was because, like I said, we're just big on teaching wealth principles. We're big on teaching, financial literacy, but primarily just mentoring and applying leadership development, because we as a group, we definitely believe that you know in order for you to obtain the things that you want, you have to seek it from somebody who already has what you want,
Mm-hmm.
if that
Mm-hmm.
makes sense. And that's really what our entity really embodies. We're big on collaborative success in a sense. Now, when it comes to Augment Digital, that is my own personal graphic design business, and how that really came to develop. I was actually in college one day. Once again, I was an architect major, and a lot of the things that we did in order to create portfolios, make sure we had our portfolios presentable, they dealt with Photoshop, Illustrator, the run of the mill graphic design software
Mm-hmm.
programming. And at some point, I just wanted to find some way to make income around my own schedule, and that just really came from graphic design. So upon graduating, I came up with this group called Augment Design Group. And initially, I didn't really take it as serious. There was some traction, going with it. But essentially it just wasn't, it didn't have the right amount of momentum when it came to it. So literally I think about it is what, May right now. I think it's almost like 2 to 3 months ago, I actually rebranded myself and actually, like you said, it's the DGTL, but it's the pronunciation, excuse me, of Augment Digital.
Mm-hmm.
And really what that simply means is, augment design is greater design. Augment literally means to add, to increase in greater amount or with intensity. And that's really what I want the brand to more so embody itself. With intensified improvement in design initiative, you have great design, if that makes sense. So
Okay.
that's how everything, for the most part, has come to fruition, and everything.
Awesome. I think so. Are you comfortable sharing? How old are you?
I'm 24 right now.
You're young. You're very young, but you're an entrepreneur, and you not just in one avenue. You've got multiple streams going. You seem to have not only the drive that it takes. Well, I'd say most people don't get the drive that you have today, ever.
Right.
But some folks take decades to get that, or whatever it may be, and it takes a lot of pitfalls. What made you? What pushed you to basically move outside of the standard, not, get your 4-year degree, go to a 9 to 5, and clock in,
Ah,
clock out, and go home and do? What is it? What is it that makes you do this instead of that?
that's actually a huge and tremendous question that I've actually been waiting to. I've been waiting for somebody in the world to ask me that, and I guess probably no, seriously. And I think the best way to more so answer it is, simply just circumstance. I don't have a problem, sharing this or anything, but upon upon me graduating, and everything, unfortunately my identity had actually gotten compromised.
Wow.
And what this, I didn't understand the magnitude of it at that moment, because I found out 3 days after I graduated. That's the even crazier thing about it.
What? So your
Three
identity was stolen.
my
3
my
days after you
identity was
graduated.
stolen 3 days after I graduated. I decided to go home from Baltimore, because I initially lived up in Baltimore. Went home back to Prince George's County, got something in the mail. Come to find out, I had to report to court, right? And it's tremendous. And at some point, I didn't take it that seriously, because I'm like, what? Who the hell is this? This is not me, right?
Yeah, sure.
So just by knowing that, I went. There was a court date scheduled for September, and this
Okay.
was a week right before I had to fly out to California. But there was a court date that I just went willy-nilly with, and my mind was dead set on just proving my innocence with no legal defense. First mess up right there. But in all seriousness, what that really meant for me was, when I went there, because of the fact that I didn't have any legal defense, they didn't typically want to hear anything that I had to say. And long story short, not only did I find out the magnitude of everything that happened, because initially I just thought it was just a measly few, traffic issues. But come to find out, the individual had been using my name and running up tickets, among other things, since February. So just put that into
Man.
perspective. I found out in May, but they were doing it as long as February of 2019. So not only did I find that out, but also at the same time, because I didn't have any legal defense, they incarcerated me on the spot. Okay.
What?
So they had, yes, it was trauma. I'm not going to lie, Teddy. It was pretty traumatizing.
Yeah, man.
And really the only way that really kept me out from actually going, to jail, was because of the fact that when they took me into holding, they saw how I reacted towards it. Like, one of the sheriffs actually heard me out, heard my story and everything, and then they actually brought me back up to the judge. And luckily enough, by the grace of God, I was actually was grateful enough to be requested a continuance. So not only did that was that a blessing for me, but also at the same time, it was an eye opener, because prior, like over the summer, I was still looking for employment, and I kept getting turned away constantly because of what had happened or what had occurred from somebody else's doing on my own record. So whenever I applied for architecture jobs or any job in
Wow.
my field of study, I just kept getting turned away every single time. And that's the main reason why I say circumstance really put me in that position, because even though I pushed for employment, it was just something that wasn't able to be granted towards me at that point. But nonetheless, I wanted to find some way, not even find, but I wanted to make a way to still do the things that I wanted to do for myself and for my family.
Forge your own path. Yeah,
Yeah.
that is one story right there, my friend. Jeez, I had no idea that that was going to happen on this show. That's I can't even imagine what that was like to go through, like as a young kid. You're 21, 22, 23, something to that effect. You find out, okay, you know, I'm in trouble for something. I don't exactly know what it is. I don't really know how to deal with this, so I'm just gonna, like, show up with a smile on my face, and this will all sort itself out. It'll be fine. Lo and behold, somebody has been using your name. That has got to be such a violated feeling to know that somebody has taken your name, your social security card number, like your good name, and has racked up all this bad everything, and then you're being punished for it. So did you realize at the time when you were being turned down for jobs and everything, like that was the reason that you were being turned down? And I'm assuming you told them, like, oh, this is this pending case. It wasn't me. My identity was stolen or something like that.
I suspected it, but remember, I didn't find out the magnitude of all the cases until September. So this was at this point, this was right after graduation in May. Between the duration, I believe, about June to about August, I was always going in and out of going into DC, via train, however I could get there. Sometimes my dad would even take me to go to the to get to interviews on time. And I didn't know the magnitude of everything because they hadn't had the court date set in stone yet. So I'm just going without knowing fully what the magnitude of it is entirely. But I just thought that maybe they just found value in some other individual. But one thing that I realized was the same thing kept coming back from these employment entities, and it's just more so we had a background check, and we just decided to go with someone further.
Holy
And I
cow.
mean, I understand that's I mean, essentially that's almost a part of the game when it comes to your run of the mill 9 to 5 lifestyle when it comes to seeking employment. But at some point, when you realize, when you more so have to question a background check, when you haven't really done anything that I'm not going to say that warrants a background check, but more so you haven't done anything that you would want to hide. But then somebody says, okay, we did a background check, and based off of what we found, we decided to go with the next candidate. It makes you question what has happened. And
Sure,
then
yeah.
towards September, I just figured everything out, and it was a blow. It was definitely a huge blow, because a lot of my colleagues that I graduated with, they're currently on their way in grad school right now.
Mm-hmm.
And what I ended up figuring out was, after that court day, all of the money that I initially both my parents initially had for me to go towards graduate school actually went towards me paying for my attorney to fight this entire case. So that
Jeez.
was another thing that was really a blowback. And at some point, I wasn't more so in a sunken place, but it was more so me trying to figure out how can I turn this into something different,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
So that's that story for the most
What a
part.
story. Yeah, that's right out of the gate. You had that one. I had those a bolt in the chamber right there. I had no idea that I was gonna hear that. Well, everybody has a why, right? And everybody has a
Yeah.
kind of a driving force, which I hate wishing evil on anybody, but at the same time, I can't say that I'd be where I am, and I can't say that I would have been as driven to take the steps that I took to find joy and peace and happiness, um, with such intensity if I hadn't gone through my own drama or whatever it would be. But yeah, oh my gosh, especially at your age, that's incredible. But the fact that you've turned this around is even more incredible. Okay, so so many things. Something I wanted to, I guess, ask you, on top of that, and this goes into the theme of my whole podcast and that sort of thing, given everything you've been through, what you're going for today and whatnot, what are the right now, based on your plans and your goals, what are the top 3 things that you are getting after and matter the most to you right now?
Are we talking about like in terms of long-term goals or what I'm currently seeking right now?
Let's say what you want to get done in the next 5 years.
Ah,
That could be a
hmm.
feeling, that could be a monetary goal, that could be a physical goal, that could be a career goal, could be anything.
I
Where do you want
would
to be? Top 3
definitely
things.
within the next sheesh, I'll be I'll be 30 in the next 5 years. Good Lord.
Hey
I
man, I'm
would say,
31.
oh dang.
Most people think I'm
Really?
18, so I don't know, man.
You look like you're like 20. I would probably say my age, Daddy.
Babyface, man.
Definitely my age,
I'm
24.
31. Yeah, I've got a few years on you and a few it's been a rough life. That's why I'm drinking my wine right now.
No, but no, that's great. But I would probably say there's definitely a monetary goal. The way that I'm heading right now, um, not only has struggle before success, and a combination of Augment Digital being able to award me with not only time freedom but also traction enough to not worry about funds, but also at the same time when it comes to that 5-year duration. I want to make sure that I'm financially secure for not only myself but also at the same time my parents. I recently told my father, I believe a couple of months ago, that he's currently 58 years old. I told him that I want to be able to retire him within the next 2 years, and if it's not two, best believe it'll be before you're 65. And currently right
Yeah.
now, I know I'm on the right track. But also at the same time, it's just a matter of just pushing forward towards it and just having long-term thinking. Now, the other two goals, I would say, um, they're a lot more long-term, but
Yeah. Hit me with it.
the second one would definitely be um, the second one would definitely be expound upon even more sources of income. Like currently right now, we are definitely big on understanding how the whole method of repairing credit is done, but also at the same time I want to get into real estate as well. And possibly maybe maybe the understanding of drop shipping when in terms of how much the industry actually offers. Not too big on that, but the third primary one would simply just to be, and this is my longest term one, and that's just to simply just be a great father one day when I actually do have kids.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, like you'll be surprised, like people actually laugh at me for saying that a lot of times, like,
Mm.
and like it's something that's common, or it's like it's something that's oh, why would you want to be a great father? And I don't think people fully understand the context by which it's actually associated with it. And that's not to say we have a lot of terrible fathers or anything like that. But I personally speaking, I think that the true definition of what it means to be a great father is to be there for your kids, not only for when it comes to their school, their first school days, but also their recitals, their practices, anything and everything that they have to go through. And a lot of times, so many parents want to do that, but it's the money, it's the time constraint. So many people are exchanging their time for the money, to the point that they have the money to put towards their children, but they don't have too much time to spend with their children.
Hmm.
And I was actually a product of this actually growing up, because after growing up, I always played. My favorite instrument used to be the violin. I've been playing the violin for close to, I think, 16 years now. But out of those 16 years, I believe only about, I can probably say about 1 or 2 years did both of my parents actually come to my recital. And it wasn't, and it's nothing upsetting or anything like that, but it's the realization that my parents were working, like where they were 9 to 5 workers.
Mm.
Still are, and they just didn't have that time to give towards me. So that is my biggest long-term goal. It won't be in the next 5 years, probably, maybe. It depends, but
Perhaps. Yeah, you never know.
that's my biggest goal for really that I'm shooting for.
I hear the theme of freedom in all of that. Like you want freedom based on your income streams, your not just the multiple income streams you have, but the amount of money that comes in ensuring that you are propped up to survive recessions, things of that nature and whatnot. And then also just
Absolutely.
at the end of the day, just you can walk away from it if you wanted to. You could just say, forget this.
Absolutely. I
Okay.
think probably one of the biggest things that I don't want to have to worry about, like you said, is money, but also at the same time, I have a very big issue with with someone else determining how much money my own time is worth, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
Yeah. Sure.
And that's the biggest thing that I really want to that I really want to get away from, because we definitely understand there are very it's extremely ambitious for a lot of people. But at some point, I just want to be able to spend time with the things that I like, and the people that I love, and that's the biggest thing for me.
I to your point, had just my last episode was with somebody by the name of Dr. Bridget Cooper, and she something that really rang true in the episode is what she said. I think I asked a question. During the coronavirus, COVID, us being stuck at home. Some companies are talking about not going back until 2021. Nobody knows. We're not sure,
Oh Lord.
which is horrifying. I think that's like corporate businesses that can work from home and that sort of thing. But I think many other companies will go back sooner. But the point is, we were talking about all of that and like handling that. And I said, what should we be doing right now? And she stopped. She said, what you need to remember is that if you want to achieve any sort of peace and happiness in your life, you need to take away the word should out of your life and replace it with the question, do I want to do this? And that's the theme I keep hearing from you right now is look, my options, my plan A was ripped away from me, like in dramatic fashion. And I have the path of least resistance before me, and I could probably still go find a 9 to 5, or I can go work here or there or whatever, and work my way up through the system and retire at 65, and have my social security maybe, and so on and so forth. Follow that path, right? That narrative that's written before you, or what I can do is what I want to do, and something that gives me fulfillment and joy, and potentially write my own story that is far more vibrant and interesting and legacy ridden, or whatever you want to call it. But
Right.
that's what I keep hearing from you, and that's why I was so intrigued. It doesn't take me long anymore to realize somebody's got that thing, right? That X factor, and I think you have it, because the simple fact that you took what is now, I know, a really crazy life circumstance at a young age, and you didn't fall on your face and stay down. You turned that to the good of your own, yourself, your family, and so on and so forth. And that's just something that people don't do. I don't,
Right.
going off on a tangent here, but I think once you spend a lot of time in the space of, I'm sure you have friends and your business colleagues and whatnot, and even me and you, when you start talking to the same people over and over about the same mindset, which is growth, finding happiness, not accepting what's given to you, things like that, you start thinking that is normal. But when it takes one simple conversation with somebody who has lived that life that was just given to them, and they depend on external sources for their own joy and identity and so on and so forth, to snap you back to the reality of like, wow, majority of this planet just kind of goes with the flow, and they don't question what they don't even think to take a chance on themselves. Instead, they go with the safe route, which again, I don't even know if that's right or wrong, but I saw that in you from the beginning, and I had to have you in the show for that reason. And it's so intriguing to hear how you got from A to B to C to where you are now for
Right.
that very reason. So I guess what I wanted to ask you from that point, we asked, what's important to you, what are you doing now? And I think the way we spend our time now shows what's important to us, right? If you want to, she said same thing. Dr. Cooper said, if you want to know what's important to somebody, don't ask them, see how they spend their time, right? This is what she said. For you, what do you want the world to look like your tribe, your atmosphere, your ecosystem that you're a part of to look like in 20, 30 years when it's time for you to potentially walk away and retire if you wanted to, and just
Right.
say, you know what, I'm done. I'm going to ride off into the sunset. We can even push that to 40
Um,
years if you want.
I would. How would my world want to look like? Oh, that's a
Mm-hmm.
ah, dang. I would probably say that honestly, I would like for it to look the exact same way that it is now. And the reason why I primarily say that is because piggybacking off of what you just said in terms of people going with the flow of things, I feel like at some point people understand what it is that they're doing is just like you said. You see, like with what you said, in terms of Dr. Cooper, it's not what you should do, but do you want to do this? I feel like at some point in everybody's lives, want people have that choice that they want to make. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
they ask themselves that question, and the reason why I more so bring that up is because at the end of the day, I feel like at some point everybody's going to continue to make that decision. It's just a matter of time, and if it doesn't take that time, I feel like it's going to become a level of realization when they are old. So I would say
Mm-hmm.
the world that I want, I still want it to be the same. I still, as long as I'm surrounded by like-minded individuals, as long as I'm still motivated by the people around me, by the individuals that I choose to be motivated with, by the things that I shoot for the stars with, then I'm perfectly fine with the rest of the world. Because as you can see right now, and you can probably equate the pandemic to this right now. So many people are unfortunately not working, but more importantly, a lot of people are freaking out because of this is unprecedented.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, and the thing is, you have some people that are going ballistic on it, but also at the same time, you have some people that who if you understand how situations or times like this works, they have found a way to make something better of it. Because a lot of people may not see, or
Mm-hmm.
or may not, or may see it like, oh, we're in a pandemic, we have to protect ourselves at all costs. But another individual might say, oh, look, we're in one of the world's worst recessions in the past, what, almost 20 to 40 years. But a lot of those same individuals know and understand that with recession comes expansion. So
Mm-hmm.
it's just a matter of how you choose to dictate between that. But as long as I'm still surrounded by those individuals, they help me motivate myself. And I'm able to in turn help motivate them, and we're able to elevate one another together. Then I'm pretty fine with that. I don't think my job is to ever take everybody on the road with me. I don't think that's anybody's job. Like that,
Mm.
you can equate that with the Sprints and the Verizons or anything like that. They don't have all the customers, but we can agree that Sprint and Verizon, definitely hold their own, individually.
Yeah.
But with that being said, it's like as long as you take the right people with you, and that help see your vision, help understand it, and also at the same time you help expand upon whatever it is that they want to have for themselves, then that's perfectly fine by me.
I love that answer. And it was unexpected. I'm not going to lie to you. I ask these questions and almost expect a cliche answer of I want world peace and I want people to be happier and joyful. But you surprised me with a very specific, um, almost focused vision of what you want it to be. And in that, and something that you said that really stuck out to me was, as long as I've connected with the people that basically wanted to connect with me, and we share the same message, which to me equates to a family, it equates to a culture, right? That you belong to, that you feel one with. And I think from the beginning of time, and like, you know, I'm a proponent, a believer of evolution by all means. And for 70,000 years, we've studied human behavior and how we are. We're not so different today than we were back then. And, the
Right.
species we came before that and the species that surround us today, in that we look for identity, safety, love, and protection. And in 2020, all of us react to this pandemic very, very differently. I mean, there's, you could react very viscerally and physically concerned. You
Right.
can act very concerned about your social status and how you relate to others and you want to be around them or whatever it may be. Or you could react with concern about wanting to be closer to that one individual or wanting to be close to that one friend or whatever it may be. But your answer was very, very refreshing and honest in that you want your message to be close knit and tight with those who are ready to hear it.
Right.
Not trying to exert your energy on those who aren't going to, never will, and will never be friends, family, one with your vibe, if that's what it is. And I'll tell you what, man, I don't know if that again, I'm not a huge spiritual person, but as far as like you saying that, you're the second person to say that on the show, that same sentiment of stop trying to change the world, change your world,
Right. World.
change your, like, let the people on your path come to you and let you be the the lead of the path or whatever you want to call it. So that's very refreshing. That's very refreshing indeed. I love knowing your why. What it does so what does your family think of all this? Like your family, your close friends, when you decided that you wanted to skip the 9 to 5 and just forge this path? What do
Uh,
they think?
well, first off, I can definitely start from not really from the beginning, but initially how everything, transpired. So 3 years ago, this is when I was actually a sophomore at Morgan. When I initially embarked on it, of course, I had my own art, my own architecture, my own career that I was going to school for still in mind and everything. And initially, they were uneasy about it, and I feel like that's common with everybody, because when you're uncomfortable about something, or if you don't know all the ins and outs, I mean, that's what you just get from it. Okay, you want to know more information.
Sure.
But then, fast forwarding to me graduating and everything, like even to this day, Teddy, my father still fights me on it. My father definitely still fights me on it. He like I hear from him many a time. We're gonna get this straight, and I appreciate the positive reinforcement. But he always says we're gonna get this straight, and you need to stop putting the horse before the carriage. Okay, we're gonna get you. You're gonna get the job. And then this can be supplemental and everything else of that nature. And I appreciate the positive reinforcement. But at some point, and at some point, you just have to make that decision. And I think the best way, matter of fact, it's May right now. The best way of how I personally knew that it was time for me to make that decision was actually, I want to say March, or like right before the outbreak. I actually got two job offers. Initially I just got two job offers, and one was in Crystal City, Virginia, and the other one was, I believe, either in Silver Spring or Tacoma Park, Maryland. And initially, when I had initially gotten an email for it, I just looked at it. I just looked at the email, and I swiped up on my phone and just closed the application out, because I didn't really know what to say to it. I really didn't know what to say at
To a
this
job
point.
offer?
Yeah, to a job offer. And if you think about it, this is from the duration of September, when everything has happened, to literally a couple of months later and everything. At this point, everything traction and momentum is going crazy with SBS. So it's like, at this point, I'm starting to think, like, do I do I really want to answer this?
Mm,
And at some point, I think it took me 2 days, or I think at least at the most a day and a half or so. I went back into my email. I took a look at it again, and you know how, if you use Gmail, of course, they have the little suggestions that they give
sure.
you. The one of them was no thank you. So I pressed no thank you, and it sent a message. And I really, at that point, I really just told myself. I just told myself, took a deep breath. Listen, Jamil, this is your decision that you have to make. This is the decision that you have made. And at that point, there was no turning back. So what I did, I declined the job. I declined the job offer, and instead, what I decided to do, instead of just saying no to it, what I decided to do afterwards, I sent another email back, basically saying, I have a couple of colleagues of mine who are in grad school right now. They're seeking employment for the summer. Is it okay if I actually refer them to you? She was more than delighted to accept their
Mm,
applications and everything. But all in all, I made the personal choice to decline that job offer because, and it wasn't because the architecture and its value was losing itself, but I knew at some point I wanted to make, I deep down inside, I wanted to make a decision to do something different in order to get something different. Okay.
hmm.
And that was my personal way of actually doing that. Now, personally, do I still want to do things concerning architecture in the future? Yeah, like I think the biggest thing that I want to do with architecture, I want to I want to build community parks one day, for neighborhoods, because I feel like, as a kid growing up, I was always that person that went outside, always went for walks, and I definitely feel like community parks is what brings a community or a neighborhood together. So I still want to do that, but concerning the job of architecture at this current moment, that was my personal way of saying I'm going to commit to the road that I've embarked on. I'm not going to turn back. I'm just going to commit to it.
It's a decision. I think we need to learn that there are so many things that we need to be intentional about, outside of um, big moments like this as well. It's there's a book called The 5 Second Rule, and the premise is that we have these decisions throughout each day that, if we give it too much time, we'll talk ourselves out of it, and we don't even
Right.
realize we're doing it. It's just whatever it may be, work related, workout related, diet related, whatever. And um, what you're doing is being intentional, and what you did there was be really intentional, and in a really symbolic way, that is memorable. And I it kind of gives you goosebumps, because I can just think of those moments in my life as well, and how potent those things are, in your growth. It feels so terrifying right there, and it's I don't think that I necessarily have, or you have, or anybody has more courage than another person. I think it's just a matter of making the decision
Right.
and living with it and betting on yourself. And that's something that my boss says all the time, is like, at the end of the day, when I'm in sales, and you're in business development as well, building your own business, you have to make that decision every single day. Do I bet on myself? At the end of the day, do I believe that I can forge my own path better than somebody else doing it for me? And when you choose that every day, though it might be exhausting and terrifying to be completely autonomous and responsible for your own fate, there's nothing more beautiful and more fulfilling than to experience that type of pride when you succeed on your own when everybody else is telling you not to. So I don't blame your dad. I don't blame him for feeling the way he does, because
Mm.
he's lived his whole life that way. That's what he
I was about to say, I
knows.
feel like that's what he knows. So it's like, how can you really blame him for that?
100%. And he means well, I'm sure. I'm sure he's a wonderful person, wonderful dad, and that sort of thing. But it is what he knows, and it takes, I think, by you being ready to take that leap means that he did his job in raising you.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So that's really, really cool. If there's another Jamil out there, there's another, you know, Senior Nelson, who's ready to go, and has just experienced the most traumatic experience of his life, in one capacity or another, or he just doesn't know what the hell he's going to do, and he has this like inner thing inside of him. He wants to do something, but he doesn't have the. What do you say to him or her?
I would say, if you don't have, you said if they don't have the courage to do it.
Yeah, If they don't think they do, probably do. But
Um,
if they're in your shoes, before that happened to you, right? Before that happened to
mhm.
you, you probably didn't know you had the strength that you do.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not.
What do you say to those people?
I would probably say, and this is what I will. Yeah, this is one thing that I will say that will be cliche. Bet on yourself. You know, um, and this is not me knocking 9 to 5 jobs or anything, but if you think about it, a lot of times when we're in 9 to 5 situations, there are definitely good opportunities for money, but you're literally one decision away from losing your income, and a lot of time it's not even your decision. You
Right.
know, but more importantly, over that, I would tell somebody, what do you do when your initial road to success gets cut off? Do you wait for the construction to pick everything up so you can keep moving, or do you look for a detour to still get to the same destination? Okay, and I think
Solid.
that's probably the one thing that I stand firm on, because it molds my reality in and of itself.
Hmm.
For all of those individuals out there who want to make a decision, whether it be business, whether it be starting something new. My mom is actually, she's been a corporate 9 to 5, worker for the past I think 30 years or so. She's actually, because of what she has seen me doing, she's actually, told me she's actually taken it upon herself to actually start her new skincare business
Wow.
coming out soon. And I'm actually working with her on that on behalf of Augment Digital in terms of graphic designing and everything. But whether it be business, new relationships, new people, new everything, bet on yourself. And more importantly, be comfortable with being uncomfortable. You know, so many people deter away from things, or deter themselves away from things, excuse me, because of the fact that they don't know all the ins and outs. They feel uncomfortable. They don't know how to go about it. And a lot of that time, that's simply just fear. And I used to be that same exact individual. I used to crack underneath the fear of something to the point that it would turn me away. That was actually a very big reason why I actually failed my first year in college. I
Wow.
actually it was because while I was a freshman, transitioning from high school senior to freshman in college, I still had that mindset as a high schooler. But
Hmm.
whenever I knew I was going to be late for class, instead of me just accepting the fact that I was going to be coming in late, everybody's going to be looking at me, I'm going to be missing out on information, I'm going to be confused, I just decided to stay in my room. It was that fear that I cracked underneath, instead
Hmm.
of just realizing and understanding, putting yourself in a position where you have to do what you have to do in order to get where you need to be. But more importantly, just make sure you get comfortable with being uncomfortable. Okay. So that's
Hmm.
that's my that's my biggest thing. Anybody make that decision, because there are so many people that want to do things, that want to start, but they always think that maybe I don't have the right monetization for it. Maybe I need more information. Maybe I need to do more research. Maybe I need to do all of these things first before, and make sure that myself is together so it can just run smoothly. But if you think about it, how many business owners do you know, or how many successful people? It doesn't even have to be business owners. How many successful people do you know that did it and had everything together? Jeff Bezos started in his garage, a garage
Hmm.
sale. CEO of Amazon. Um, Steve Jobs started in his garage with Steve Wozniak. Apple. Elon Musk. He did not just start Tesla, the Tesla that is today, that can design the company that can design a car that goes from 0 to 60 in 1.8 seconds overnight.
Hmm.
It took him 10 years to do that. Okay. So
Right.
just imagine, once you understand that, as long as you just go out there and make that decision, then that's all it really takes. It's just for you to make that decision and commit to it.
Make the
So that's what I
decision
would
every
tell them
day. Bet on yourself
every day.
and get uncomfortable. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I'm with you, man.
Absolutely.
I couldn't agree more. If people want to get a hold of you, how do they do so?
Great question. So, for anybody who actually wants to see me on social media, my social media is Black Sage, BLVCKSAGE. And then also my graphic design page is also Augment Digital or Augment DGTL. Same thing for, well, my LinkedIn is Jamil Nelson. And, you know, feel free to follow our Struggle Before Success page as well. Like I said, we're big on, you know, educating people on some huge, you know, success, wealth tips, a whole wide array of everything, but also leadership development. More importantly, you know, follow us at SBS Global on Instagram. So that is literally everything of how you can get in contact.
Listen, man, it's awesome having you on. You are clearly somebody who has the fire lit, and you're going somewhere really, really fast. What I think is cool is I'm not sure where that is yet. I'm not sure which avenue is going to take hold in particular. Whether that, obviously the SBS and the, you know, Augment DGTL is those are two avenues that I think you're definitely building very strong. But then the realty side of things, and you know, like maybe the credit repair side of things, there's so many avenues that you can go on top of this. But
and the
like,
crazy thing is, I don't know how to go about it yet. But it's the decision. It is the decision, man.
you'll see, you're like a magnet going down the road. You'll see what sticks to you along the way, and how that looks at the end of the tunnel, right? So
Absolutely.
awesome, man. So great having you on. I appreciate you making the time. And I guess I will be talking to you very, very soon. And for that, we will sign off.
Absolutely, man. Well, thank you, Teddy, so much for definitely having me on here. Feel free to, I would definitely say, you know, to have a second checkup, you know, either later months or years or so, just to see the progress and everything, and more so to just shed a little bit more light and everything. I would definitely be happy to do that, man. So nonetheless, I definitely appreciate you.
I think it would be enjoyable and very appropriate given the topic.
I'll bring a bottle of Roscato this time, man.
Yeah. There you go. That's all that was missing tonight. That's all it was.
That's amazing, man. Well, I definitely appreciate it, man, for definitely having me on here. And thank you so much, Teddy.
You got it. See ya.
All right, take it easy, man.